Hello and welcome to the second of three videos in the build-up to Masters and Hype. I'm Lucky-Sixes.
And I'm MattyP from the Paired Weapons podcast. How are you, Lucky-Sixes?
Oh, I'm very good. I am very thankful for all the feedback on video 1 and hoping it can carry on for video 2 and 3.
Absolutely. It's really exciting. The hype train's definitely underway, isn't it?
Yeah,
I just can't wait to get going now. I just can't wait for the 17th to roll around to start getting some dice rolled.
We are so close. We're so close to the Masters, and already people are smack talking each other about lists and things like that. So it's great to. And today we get to look at I think this is the most exciting one. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put it out there as a spoiler. The who's who of the Masters.
So cool.
And we get to show off even more spec and tech and sparkly lights and things like that in the form of player cards and shizzles.
Yeah, and you're really good at this, there, Tom. It's been super, the tech stuff. So, I'm psyched for this one. I think this is going to be the best one of the pre-event stuff. So I'm absolutely up for this, mate.
Yeah, man. And speaking of who's who, today we are joined by two wonderful guests. And here we are, Kev Stonebanks.
Hello.
And Rory Stoves.
Hi folks, how's everyone going?
Very good, very good. See, we couldn't even split up Matty and Kev on the video.
Can't be bear to be apart this long.
No, I know. I guess I have to do my big intro for you, Kev, don't I?
Yeah.
And welcome to the UK Masters video casting on the PTG YouTube channel. It's the better half of the Paired Weapons podcast. It's your man, it's our man, it's the driver of the K train, it's Mr. and Mrs. Mino. It's Kev Stonebanks. How are you, buddy?
Hey, very good. I'm very happy to be here on another podcast / video thing.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's so many at the minute. It's just recording crazy. And I'll do the same. Happy birthday, Rory.
Yeah, thank you very much.
A few days ago now, but in video land, it's today. So happy birthday to you.
Cheers, lads.
And I guess I should do an introduction for Rory as well, really, shouldn't I?
Yes, do it. He's much better than me.
The nicest guy on the scene, without a doubt, and definitely with the nicest laugh. I always like it when I get pulled to play against Rory, because it means I'm going to have some real good ear candy for the next 3.5 hours. So love playing you, super guy, mate, and welcome on to the video cast with that awesome laugh of yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're definitely, Rory, I would say, and I think you've said it, the glue of the Ninth Age UK scene, right? You hold everything together.
I seem to know a lot of people. I think it's because I'm just involved. I just get my nose stuck in everywhere, right?
Yeah,
I've got a big club down in London. I sort of know the Reading boys. Met Jack Austin and from around Bath and fell in love with him. Met the Wales boys, fell in love with them. And so just.
And I mean, your Lions as well. You didn't include that straight away. But you're not just in the Lions.
I think because Lions is only more recent, right? Last 18 months or so.
Yeah.
And that's been great, right? Like I'm not sure I've got better. Hopefully, I've helped other people get better, which is actually the bigger reward there. Helping everyone improve.
Well, I mean, you say you've not got better. This is first Masters, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but it's just cheating. It's just cheating. Like
no, not at all, mate. Not at all. Everyone's in the same boat, man.
I use Warriors for 2 tournaments, and I finished in the top 10 or round about the top 10 for both tournaments. So,
buddied up with the Feldrax, did you?
That's exactly it. I just put loads of Feldrax in my list, and I just ran at people, and it's great. Right? Don't get me wrong.
Worked against me in social distancing. That's exactly what he did.
It is, right? Yeah. And then Kev got his revenge when I brought my Silver Elves, gave him a boxcar charge into the flank of my bunker, and he took it and made it. And it was a suitable revenge, right?
Absolutely. Deserved, right? Yeah. And Kev, are you enjoying interviewing everyone and being up till 12 every day recording?
I am indeed. It's an exhausting schedule. I'm sure Matt will agree, but it's been good. Lots going on. Lots keeping the scene going.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice. I'm super pumped for the Masters.
Yes.
I'm terrified.
Which, of course, is your first as well.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, it's my first.
How have we got these two men on here and first? It's crazy.
It's a battle for the bottom, I think, me and Rory.
Yes. So go the predictions, right?
Yeah,
Well,
apparently.
Yeah.
What I should have done is just taken a list that beat Kev's Mino list, right? That's what I should have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are here today to looking at all everybody's stats. So I know we've mentioned first Masters for you two, but we will look at everyone's stats and everything like that. And of course, what better way, I think, and Matty knows, to start on anybody than Kev Stonebanks himself, the wild card potentially of this tournament, but definitely
Absolutely.
from this picture, the wild thing of Knife Age. Look at that. It is. I mean, hey.
Wow.
No.
That cropping is just insane. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
what?
I mean, if I hadn't have cropped it out, you would have noticed a conveniently placed bottle there. As well.
Sure.
Or is it beaker? I'm not sure. Anyway,
Test tube.
Yeah, test.
I want to know what it's full of. That's why.
Strange chemicals in front of you. But anyway, apart from that, rather quite amazing picture. If we look
To
at
be,
the stats,
to be fair, Lucky-Sixes, we should probably give Kev a chance to explain himself there. I mean, as a professional biomedical lab technician, runner, and extreme sort of purveyor of foreign disease testing, including running the COVID testing for the northwest of England, I'll have people know. He's not just the better half of the Paired Weapons podcast. He's also a gigantic biotechnician-y brain. So it's not as though he's just been out there cosplaying as a scientist. This is actually what he does for a living.
And surprisingly, I'm not a model in my spare time either.
No, really?
The ladies of Night Page will be shocked to hear that. No, we did a charity calendar for work for one of the girls at work has her own charity in Africa. So we did a sort of lab geek calendar for all the different famous poses, but with a lab sort of twist. And I chose the Maurice Moss pose from the IT crowd when they do their geeky calendar, because who can resist? It's such a good episode. So yeah, that was how I ended up doing that. I did have pants on, by the way. That looks like I got nothing on under that lab coat, and I did.
That doesn't
certainly
test
does.
too much, I think.
Yeah, it was a good day actually. It was a lot of fun. Everyone got very drunk and this stupid shit. So yeah.
Fair play. But looking at Masters wise, you are ETT Scotland.
I am.
You are you didn't go to just 4 tournaments this year. We went to quite a few. I'm going to say 6.
6, yeah, there's 6 in total.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, did quite a few.
You did very, very well at Autumn Assault.
I did, just picked to the post by Ryan Amiri, beat me.
And that was literally like the last game, wasn't it? As well.
Last game, I was 16 points ahead of him, so I just needed him to not get a 20 or, win big. And he did, he absolutely smashed it in the last game and
He
overturned
smashed
me.
Mikey, didn't he? Like
20 nil in me like 4 turns. I was so upset. Matt had to console me.
Yeah.
Oh mate, I was so bleak for you, buddy, because it won't surprise anyone to know that I'm living vicariously through Kev at the moment. When there was a critical fight, wasn't there, between the Vamp Knights and the Disciples of Luger on the flank, and when it went Ryan's way and Mikey started collapsing a bit, I just thought, oh no. So I had to breathe deeply and give Kev a call, pick him up, keep him going, because he's got the Masters.
Well, I've never won a tournament before, so it would have been nice to actually win one.
Well, you're just saving it for the Masters, right?
That's true. I'll save it for the best one.
If you're gonna win a tournament, may as well just wait until the Masters. But otherwise, pretty good elsewhere, isn't it? Not like you're finishing bottom half or nothing in most of the other ones.
No.
So, Beast Heads.
Yeah.
Stuck true to it?
No, Scottish Champs was Warriors.
Yes, of course.
I took Warriors to that. I took KOE to Art of War, which I did terribly in, which is why it's not in my top 4 events. Other than that, once the pandemic hit and we were bound to UB, I started using Beast Heads because I had loads of models and they were my plan to use my next army, but instead of waiting 2 years for me to actually get around to paint them, I could just run them out on UB instead.
Well, I mean,
it's probably fair at this point to point out that Kev's not just a top player and has obviously made the Masters, but he's also got a reputation on scenes being a fantastic painter. If you've ever seen his KOE army, his Warriors army, and his ongoing Beast army, of which there are tons of gallery pictures, so I point you in the direction of the forum and stuff to see them. This is the all-round hobby hero for you. This
Absolutely.
is, and I think Kev's going to catch a few people with their pants down because Kev's got a very aggressive style. He's got the big Mino pain train that's coming to get you, and I think that he's going to give people some nasty shocks. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Kev doesn't overperform.
Oh, well, thank you, Matt. I hope you're right.
Just on that as well, Kev, you smashed it in painting terms at ETC, the singles tournament, didn't you, a couple of years ago? I think you came second, is that right?
I did, yes. I came second in that, which I was also a little bit devastated about, if I'm honest. But
you came second to, what's his name, wasn't it? Chai Hammer's, crazy good armor. He's basically got fans all over the world. So he basically lost to fanboys, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, his conversions are just out of this world. Every single model's unique, so it really is no shame losing to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the quality armies there was astounding. They're all really, really good.
Yeah, it was. It was very high quality, yeah. That was an awesome achievement, mate, yeah.
Yeah, so that becomes second. Thanks to Matt as well, running around everyone, telling them to go vote for me, no matter where they were from.
I bought a lot of beer, Kev.
You can't ask for a better wingman.
Yeah, everything. Had a lot.
I even gave my kilt away, but it didn't help.
I imagine Matty going around the ETC with one of those spinning signs.
Oh, yeah.
Vote this way, sort of thing. Kev Stonebanks that way.
Next time, Matt, we'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So, I mean, talking about Matty's bigging you up to overperform, what is overperforming for you? What are your estimations and predictions for yourself?
My minimum expectation is to win one game. If I can win one game, I'll be happy. Because, I mean, there's no bad players at this event at all. So I'm certainly not going to be submarining or chump bashing at all, because I think I'm the chump. There is no other chumps there. So that's going to be tough. If I could finish 10th, I'd be happy. But I'm anywhere but bottom, please. That'd be nice.
Sure. Yeah. No, fair play. So next up, I think it's written in stone. It's your nemesis. Is Ryan, and another quite interesting picture. Very
threatening,
Halloween-y sort of thing. Really nice smile, but he's got an axe sort of thing. So it's
and his eyes are the way the picture's been taken. They're just slightly red, aren't they? So there's just a little hint of red eye. It's hi,
in there. Yeah.
Come into my house, but you will die.
Obviously won Autumn Assault. But Rory, he's on the Lions team with you, and you know him quite well.
Yeah, he's actually a relatively new player, so never played any version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. All he's ever known is Ninth Age. Probably 2.5, 3 years playing. Incredible growth curve. Has before sort of UB and Lockdown played exclusively KOE.
Yeah,
much like you and myself, Rory. He's just a KOE player, isn't he?
KOE hero, loves the Knights Forlorn. That's kind of his go-to. But then he's obviously played. He's picked up sort of ID over the course of UB, and as you can see, he's had had some decent results, including that win in the Autumn Assault, where he absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was his first ever tournament win. Even the one day as we've had at the club, I don't think he's ever finished top, so he was proper chuffed with that.
It's because he dropped the KOE and started using a good army.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Well, I mean, everyone apart from Kev here will wish him well done for that that tournament win. But yeah, no, I mean, pretty consistent as well. Featured in last year's Masters as well and got 9th. So, do you think he's got it in him to finish better?
I mean, yeah, I think there is the fact that he's won a tournament this year, and he's playing one of the better books. I think he's got to be in there or thereabouts. I feel like there's a group of players who are sort of the best players, and we'll obviously talk about them and we'll highlight them. And there's a group of players who maybe don't fit in the best players group, but are actually playing very good races.
Yeah.
And I think there's always the opportunity if you're playing a very good race, and everyone's obviously a good player, that you get the right draw, you get the right luck at the right time, you find yourself on the top few tables. Don't make any silly mistakes. You've always got a chance. And I actually think Ryan, for me, could potentially be a dark horse. You know, he's a very thoughtful player, and then he's also rather dark himself, being off Iranian background as well. So
I assume he came 9th with KOE last time. So
he did, yeah.
That's a very good position.
Who did he play? He played Sylvan Elves, because last year they had an army swap round as well, didn't they? And he got Sylvan Elves, which he'd obviously never used in the army swap round, and I think
Craigs,
got a bit of a tasting.
Or is it against Craig?
He played against Craig, but got Sylvan Elves, and he'd never obviously used Sylvan Elves, and I think he got 20'd or very, very severely beaten. So to finish 9th despite that is a very credible position.
For sure. And didn't he issue that famous saying during that game where he said it just felt like he was standing in a wood waiting to die?
He said that was his tactic. He didn't have another one. Just stand in a wood and wait to die.
So Ryan aiming for more than 9th, I guess. Good luck. Next person, by self-admission, by admission from everyone on the thing, I think it's universally agreed, he is the spiciest man alive.
Por favor.
Por favor. He's English but Welsh at heart, he said, and obviously on the captain of Wales ETC as well, so backs that up quite nicely. He did. I mean, that's a very good picture as well. He did send me another picture though that he tells me is his favourite and encapsulates his real position on 9th age and playing style to the best of his ability, which is him on the floor after 120 tequilas at ETC.
What's that sticking out of his shorts? Is that his belly hair, isn't it?
I mean, it looks like a snake of some sort. Now, whether it's a trouser snake or or a cobra is a different thing altogether, right?
I mean, there's so many questions it brings up as well. But fantastic picture. But getting back to the stats and seriousness, I mean, pretty solid player. Never too far off the mark anyway. Had a good winter war, so a really good finish to the year, and otherwise just there or thereabouts, sort of plodding along. Anybody played Marcus much?
I played him this year in. It wasn't Ultimate Assault. Which one was it? Lockdown Brawl. 20'd him in 3 turns, but I'm not
there
lucky.
We go.
He gave me an 18-inch charge, so don't give the winos that.
Little tip for you, Marcus.
Lockdown Brawl, the one where lots of people did well and it doesn't count for any ranking points, right?
Oh,
no, that
was the first one that did. The one just before that was... I
can't remember what it's called now.
Universally Baffled.
Yes.
Which of course Jake won.
Oh yes, I famously won.
And
hasn't won anything since.
Yeah, bless him. But yeah, so Marcus sticking to the Demon Legions. Are we expecting him to differ? Could throw up something different. He's played a few armies in his time.
He's played a lot of different armies over the years, but I think he'll stick with the Demon Legions. I can't see him moving away from that. He's very good with them. He knows what he's doing.
He's been on a bit of a run with them as well, hasn't he? So I think it was. I know I've played him using Dread Elves, and I feel Orcs and Goblins. Maybe I haven't played him playing Orcs and Goblins. I've just talked to him a lot about it.
Sure.
Yeah, so he's got a variety of armies, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't Dread Elves. Although we're very, very close to deadline time now, right? So people could be making up their minds as we speak.
Yeah, last minute job. So he might hear this and go, you know what? I'll throw a spanner in the works. Bring out my highborns. That's what he would do. But yeah, so Marcus says he sort of doesn't normally do well at Masters because he kind of uses it as an excuse to celebrate his year and drink. But of course that might not be a factor this year, so we might have serious Marcus gunning for the title.
Me and Matt spoke to him in our interview, didn't we, Matt? And he hasn't drunk for a year, he said. So
yeah. He says he's been on the wagon. Mind you, we did follow that up with the story of when him and Leggy did 5 bottles of Jägermeister in a drinking contest.
But, you know, he's fighting on all cylinders now because he's sober. So watch out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he could beat me after fucking 100 tequilas normally. So yeah.
Well, focus Marcus could be quite special. But more importantly, onto a much more important player, Rory. Here he is.
There he is.
The death with the people's elbow stare, I think, is that?
The miracle year. God knows how I've ended up here, lads.
Mate.
Well, I mean, you say that, Rory, but I mean, tell us a little bit about how the Lions, do you think, has brought these players on? Because we're seeing quite a few Lions players who've made it into the Masters. Whatever it is there you're doing, you've got to be doing something right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Lions. I think what we're trying to do is just getting people to think about the game differently, right the way from list writing through to sort of match predictions. I mean, you guys have been away with Scotland, and you know that predictions is an important part of the game, predictions is actually just reading other people's lists, right, and understanding what it does. So it's all about just improving knowledge around the game. And then you're looking at your results and you're going, right, where did I mess up? How did I mess up? What happens here? What happens there? Right? And I think there is some of that retrospective work, which when you're, when you're doing it in a less sort of formal capacity, you probably just you might do a couple of games like that, certainly at a tournament. But after a rubbish round 5, or a rubbish second day, you might just go, I just want to forget that tournament, and you walk away. Whereas when you've sort of people involved with the Lions, we'd really encourage everyone to basically look at every result and not just put it down to dice. I've had some horrendous dice this year. In fact, Matty and Kev have both been there where I've had terrible dice and you've had great dice. And I walk away, and Kev, actually, I was looking at our game, right? And the amount of mistakes I made. Yeah, I had bad dice and you had good dice, but I just made loads of mistakes anyway. And that's actually, I think, what helps improve you is taking the dice away and going, right, okay, fine. You might not have won this game, but should you have lost 19-1? Should you have lost 20-0? And I've sort of used Lions as a way to try and move away, because I used to be I used to lose loads, nil loads, right? 20-0, 19-1. And actually, you look at my results over the Tourney Keeper over the course of the last year, I still lose games. But when I lose, it's now a 14-6 or a 15-5, rather than going 1-19, 19-1, 0-20, 20-0 in the next game. So I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent. And I think that's actually the key, really, right? What I've done here, like, obviously I joked around at the beginning, like, I've used Warriors, right? And Warriors are great. I love the Feldrack lists.
Yeah.
Just
push them at people. Matt, you've obviously played them, and they're so resilient, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're fab. Yeah, they're fab. Yeah.
And you've also got some great character builds, and you can make. There's lots of different types of builds within that. And you can make mistakes and kind of get away with it a little bit more. And then obviously, like the more I am, I decided to move on to Sylvan Elves without actually realizing they were about to be rated the worst book. And then, like, literally the next day or within the next week, it was like, worst book, Sylvan Elves. I was like, oh, right.
There you go.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's have some fun, right? And I think that's probably what we're trying to do most with the Lions team, right? Is just to help people get better so that England gets better.
Yeah, I think this sort of this preparation, planning, and then this reflective practice, isn't it? I think is a really big step. So if you're a modest player and you want a step forward, I think Kev and I, we've talked quite a lot about this. Is number one, you got to know the rules intimately. Number two, you got to know the books intimately. Number three, you got to plan, and number four, you got to think about stuff afterwards. And it's actually quite remarkable, the progress you'll make. So if you're out there listening, you want to get better. There you go. That's Rory's path to success.
And
stick to the plan.
Yeah.
That's always my tip, because I never stick to my plan.
And I think it is worth reiterating as well. I know Matty said it, but there are quite a lot of Lions players in here, so it seems to be working as that sort of thing. And you could say about having less tournaments, whatever, but everyone's in the same boat. Everyone can still go to those tournaments and stuff, and a lot of Lions players that were in this, or Lions players that have now gone on to ETC, because that's another ETC England, because that's another thing that it's used for. There's quite a big batch of them in here. So whatever's happening, whatever you're talking about, must be helping players and yourself. It must be, because you're here.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing is, like, some of the players in Lions are obviously good players, and have been good players before we took them on board, and other guys have are relatively new on the scene, and this year has been great. Like, we've got obviously Ali's joined, Shay's joined, we've got Tom Clues has joined, and who am I missing? This is really embarrassing because I do actually know it. Shay's joined as well. I've already said Shay. Shay, Tom, Ali, and it's on my bloody phone. So I'll just quickly look up my phone.
Go for
anyway,
it.
So we've got 4 new guys have joined, and it actually makes it's really, really important, I think, to encourage new people, because actually, otherwise you end up just being a bit of an old boys club, right? Luke Tranter's joined as well. Apologies, Luke. And that becomes, it helps everyone on the scene, and everyone's approachable. Like, you can literally go over and speak to anyone. If you want to learn about, how do I focus on looking at the game after I've finished it, right? Literally, drop me a line, drop anyone in the team a line, and we're more than happy to help them talk it through. And that's just as true of Team England as well, who sometimes...
Absolutely. I mean, one thing we've noticed, Matt, from doing this coverage alone, is how approachable everyone is. Like, everyone's ridiculously welcoming and like approachable to talk to and stuff. Because we've got virtually everyone on the podcast and videos and stuff as well, so it's phenomenal. And it's a really good scene, and it makes me quite proud to quite proud to be part of the scene and stuff, because everyone is really approachable and really fun to talk to. And like one thing you'll probably hear us do quite a lot is sort of talk about the Warhammer, but then go, and he's a good lad. That'll be something that is followed up by virtually every person in the scene. So it's quite nice, really.
And then I suppose, just so that you've got the tick, my mission is I just want to finish not 16th.
Yeah.
Right. and I'm almost certainly, well, in fact, I've already started. I'm going to take Sylvan Elves along. So that's my army of choice. So give myself a challenge, right?
Great, man.
Fair play. Like I think we were saying on the before this, you take armies to enjoy them, especially during the UB, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important. Like my philosophy, even with the Lions, is look, I want everyone to win. But if you're going to tournaments and you're going to be playing armies and lists for 5-6 games, you've got to enjoy the style, right? And that is as true for singles as it is for teams. Because otherwise, even if it's just over a weekend, come game 4, 5, and 6, or come games 5 and 6, you're just not going to be interested.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, Rory. Yeah,
take an aggressive list.
Yeah,
I mean, our big sensei up in the around Manchester around here is Dan Thomas, and he's taken both Kev and I under his wing. And one of the things that he will say immediately is, it's only a good list if you like it. If you don't enjoy playing it, you won't get the best out of it. And therefore, it's not about optimizing by taking the net list. It's about taking what you want to pick and what you want to play. And if that means 3 blocks of 20 militia, do it, because you'll be a better player with a list you like.
Yeah, exactly right. House of War, I took Druidism and hated it and had a shit event, and just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't a list I really wanted to take. Man. Just want to try it out.
And it's got to be exaggerated during these UB tournaments that aren't a weekend, right? That are sometimes
it's even longer.
even like Masters is a month, So you're playing one list for a month. You got to enjoy it for sure. Right, enough about you. Let's talk about one of your obviously because the glue, but another one of your closest friends.
Jack, the most boring picture around. Look at that, absolute classic.
Which is really ironic, because this Jack's actually like a film producer, isn't he? So he's a sort of Hollywood mogul or something.
He knows how to spruce up a poster, videos. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. A film director and cameraman that works. Yeah, he's a really good guy, as you've obviously said. We'd say Lucky-Sixes, and actually one of the things, I travel a lot with him. Me, Ryan, and Jack travel a lot around the country, going to different tournaments. Whether it's in Jack's car or on train. We once pulled over in Jack's car because he wasn't insured for 6 months, and they literally impounded the car on the journey. And we all had to get a cab. Luckily, we were quite close. I think it was Walsall, and we were quite close by the time the police stopped him. But yeah, bless his heart, he managed to go and get it out and all sorts. But and it was a complete accident. But it was hilarious. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, so he's a really good lad, and he's someone. And I know he hasn't taken part in Masters for the last 3 years, but I'm pretty sure he's qualified for all of them. He's been I go away on holidays at this time of year type of guy.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been in and around the England scene more recently as well. Last 2 years, I want to say.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
As well. So I mean, he's recognised anyway as a good player. I know that last year, 2019, I guess, he had a really good year, which got him onto the England team.
Yeah, won his first tournament down in Bath, I want to say it was. And and again, it's always a big step, right? As someone who's never won a tournament, I'm sure I believe it must flick something over in your mind, right? Just to know that you can do it.
Sure.
That when the pressure is on, you make the right calls. Because
I wouldn't know.
Because dice are dice, right? Dice are dice, right? And it's all about just making sure you make the right call. I actually think that was out of your hands, Kev, right? It's not like you lost in the last round, right?
Oh, Kev, I cannot wait till round 6 when it's you versus Ryan for the title. The pressure.
No, it'll be an idea.
But yeah,
I won't be able to bear it. I can't take it.
Well, we'll be watching.
And actually, I was talking to Jack. So if you have a look, his house wall wasn't great.
No.
And he actually turned around to me and he said, "That's the first time I've scored less than 50 points at a tournament for years." And I was like, "Oh, right. Well, that's a complete different standard between sort of like what I'm used to and what he's used to, right?" And I think it shows the level of ability and competency between sort of like the Team England guys. So I'm sure. No offense, lads, but we've all had tournaments where we haven't got 50. Then we can definitely remember them because they were this year, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Jack is at that level where he's going, actually, I had a terrible tournament and I did really poorly, blah blah blah, and that shows. And again, that shows you how well he's done in the other three.
Yeah, third, 7th, 11th, solid. And I say 11th was Art of War, so they're always really competitive. The bigger tournaments like that, so yeah, solid player. Oh, I know. It is a big one, but at least we've got it. At least it's carrying 100%. On, which is the main thing. And he's predominantly during the UB era playing Warriors. Is he going to continue that?
I suspect
so. Yeah, I suspect so. He's been a Warriors player for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I know he's actually he's become a really good painter. He's got a Warriors army, an Ogre army that he basically made from Age of Sigmar models, and then he's got, I think he had a Vampire army that he sold, and he's also got a High Elf army, Highborn Elf army. So, but yeah, I would be flabbergasted if he's in the Warriors.
Yeah, no, fair play. So next one we're looking at is Hugh, and I want to first sort of draw your attention to his last 3 years of Masters. Now this guy, he's no mug. Hugh knows his stuff. 4th, 4th, 13th. So he knows how to play Masters. He knows what sorts of lists you take to Masters, and he knows how to do well. So do you think he could perhaps break his 4th?
I think Hugh's also known for playing an awful lot of 9th Age as well.
And so, on UB in particular, I wouldn't be surprised. He's definitely the most prolific UB player in the country, if not the world. He is always on UB.
What's the joke? If you want a game on UB, Hugh's normally the first person to say yes, right?
Yeah. And he's obviously every time you play you get better, don't you? So but his trajectory, 13th, 4th, heading in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely, really consistent. And even you look at his best 4 tournaments this year as well, really consistent. I think that's one thing you got to say about Hugh is that he ain't no pushover. He's going to be consistent every time he plays. So he's going to be hard, if not, at absolute worst, he's going to be hard to get big scores out of. And at best for him, he could surprise some people.
Yeah.
He's also going to take Dark Elves, isn't he, as well? And I think that's going to be another surprise, right? Like, how many people are going to know the rules?
Sure. Yeah, there's going to be a big one as well. I have got to say, as a complete side note, Hugh is officially the best person in 9th Age because at one of the Art of Wars, he found my lost magic cards. So
is that your pyro magic card?
It was, yeah.
I remember seeing it in your videos.
So he's the saviour of Ninth Age and everything. So love you.
Also, a regular marathon runner, does a lot for charity.
Yes.
Always seems to miss TEC, doesn't he? Because
yeah,
he's always doing a
misses the
marathon,
English
right?
Championships because
Yeah,
he's going on a
so
marathon.
if you ever see the round, make sure you sponsor him.
Yeah, it does bump up his charity though, because we all whip in for
yeah, that's all right.
the
right?
fun. So maybe that's on purpose, but I don't know. But no, yeah, absolutely. So good luck, Hugh. Next one, the prodigal child
my
of
boy.
MattyP,
My boy,
newbie
here
of
he
Ninth
is.
Age, and I've got to say, speaking to him earlier in the week for the first video, he's not just a newbie to Ninth Age, he's a newbie to tournaments in general. This guy has had 4 tournaments ever and got 9th in there. It makes you sick.
It is. I've now been playing competitive Warhammer stroke Ninth Age now for the better part of 2 decades, right? This guy contacts me in like April and says he wants to get into playing Ninth Age. See one of the podcasts. Would I show him how to play UB? Showed him how to play UB. Obviously, complete noob. Anyway, and like 6 months later, he's qualified for the Masters. Now that makes you sick,
what a coach!
I mean,
what a coach!
Like, never mind qualified for Masters. He's won a tournament, right? I mean,
mate.
Really, like we were just saying, right? We're just saying it takes years for you to win a tournament, right? Like really hard. And this guy comes in, breezes it.
It's such a turning point in your career. It's 2 seconds on this, but actually, I mean, even further to that, you look at his record. Lockdown Brawl, one of the first UB tournaments and stuff, 32 out of 44, nothing special at all. But then you go 7th, then you go 5th, then you go 1st. This guy's learning quick.
He's learning.
Man.
Yeah, he's learning.
Quick.
I mean, so he's a professional mathematician anyway. He's doing his PhD at Warwick University in maths. He's obviously an excellent sportsman in his day, talking to him about rugby and football and cricket and stuff. And he's learning and learning fast. This is my dark horse. This guy can give people some shocks. I do think his lack of experience might play against him against the very top players, but you heard it here first. This guy can cause some serious stirs towards the top end of the table. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him there or thereabouts towards the end. And do you know what? Wouldn't that be a marvellous story? Oh. If you pick up Ninth Age, qualify for Masters, win it, and then just go,
I want to quit, if I'm honest.
You'd have
it's all
both
fucking
ends,
wasted, isn't it?
You'd have both ends. All those people arguing that Ninth Age is really hard to pick up. That would be the counter argument. But yeah, no, fair play.
Surely the counter argument is VS are broken as hell.
Well, this is another
It's always been my argument.
The only thing that possibly might stand in his way, I think, is that he has just taken VS all the time. He's just focused on that. He's got an army swap round to deal with. Will he be able to deal with it?
I don't think so. I'm not sure if anyone else is taking VS. Maybe if he's lucky and it's a VS off, he might be all right.
Oh, can you imagine how lucky you'd be to do that?
Yeah. Like Napoleon said, I don't care if he's good, is he lucky? Trent is lucky. Trent is lucky as well. And apart from that, he's a bloody nice bloke as well. So it's just like you're saying, Tom. Everyone is a really nice guy, but this is a really good example. And all of us as a community want to encourage new people. I'm not sure we want them to win the Masters at their first attempt.
You got to earn that.
Oh man, I'm rooting for him. You got to root for him. Everyone's.
He's my dark horse. Go Trent.
Yeah, man. So good luck, newbie. Right. Next one is. I mean, I don't think it's much of an argument to say he is Mr. Ninth Age.
He looks very much sunglasses.
I mean, he knows it as well, doesn't he? From that, but you're fit and you know it, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, he does it all. He's.
Well, I mean, this is Ed. This is Ed, the Scottish Knight Murdoch. He's on the executive board for Ninth Age. He's head of background. He's on the Masters Committee. He's on the ETC Committee. He's captain of Scotland. He runs the Scottish Championships. He knows everything there is to know about Ninth Age. He runs the ETC team, and he runs a bloody tight ship. We are simply not worthy of the presence of Edward Murdoch.
God, someone wants to stay on Team Scotland for a while, don't they?
And in his spare time...
Sorry, Kev. He's taken off the last spot this year, mate.
I can't suck up like Matt. No one can.
No, it's a skill for sure. But yeah, I mean, Ed's always, I've only been on the scene sort of 3 years. He's always been up there and someone nice to talk to, as we say, standard across the board, but also a player that knows his stuff. Probably knows his stuff. More than he wins tournaments, sort of thing. You sort of go, wow, he absolutely knows everything. And he's one of those guys that if he's on the table next to you, you just ask him for a rule. And then you get really angry that he's right and you're wrong. It's what it is, because he knows everything. Like I say, he's very knowledgeable about the game and stuff. And
I think I played Ed. Must have been one of his first tournaments at Tech. Anyway, I played him there, and he's far excelled me in the ways of KOE now. He's one of the best players of KOE I've seen. And he really knows his shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I think
Plays a good range of armies as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, so he's bounced around quite a few armies. He's one of the few people that sort of had 3 or more armies this year, hasn't he? So, and also he's quite famous for like the only person really in 2.0 that runs no magic lists, right? Since second edition.
Yes.
Obviously, back in the day, back in 1.3, no magic was a little bit more common, but yeah, like his KOE, he often doesn't take a damsel. I reckon it's because it's sexist personally, but
That's it, yeah.
Hashtag just saying, right? So
with those glasses, of course he is. But yeah, so yeah, absolutely. So I mean, someone that really isn't quite opposite to Trent, really isn't that scared of the army swap. Sort of will just about be able to cope with it. Probably better than a lot of others. Didn't go to 17, 18 and finished 10th in 19. Will he do better? Does he have it in him to do better than 10th?
I think so. Depends what he takes. If he's taking KOE, no. But if he sees the light and takes something that isn't them, I think he'll do well.
Well, I mean, played an ogre list earlier this year, and he had ogres have obviously got that one unit, right? Mercs, which are they're just filth, right?
No one likes them.
They're absolute filth, right? And I was playing it and whenever I play them, obviously, like just avoid them. But actually, Ed was like, "You're not avoiding this," and he just shoved them hard into my face and just made it really difficult for me to play around.
One of the things that Ed has been pushing very hard, and I think he's a real exponent of, is the use of chaff, aggressive use of chaff. Just as you were saying, Rory, I was like that. I'm right going to dodge his merc block, but he funnels you into these killing zones with the use of chaff. This is a good player. This is a strong contender. Earlier you said, there's a bunch of 4 or 5 players who I think are kind of the Premier League, and then there's like the Championship, and I think Ed's right at the top of that sort of setup.
Where am I? League 2.
Oh,
Northampton Town.
You know it.
Cobblers. That's what we are. Anyway, yes, absolutely. So before we get on to any more, we're gonna have a quick break. So we're gonna grab a drink, but you should definitely stay tuned because we have the second instalment of our Jack Chapman's Tactics episodes. So this is Jack Chapman giving us some tips and tricks to use on the tabletop and UB. And here is the second episode. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to Jack's Tactics. So in this episode I'm going to go over a vampire specific strategy, but this can also work for any army that has access to Druidism as well as Undying Dynasties, but this is the most commonly one that you'll see with vampires. So in this case I am the bottom player and my opponent here is also vampires, but you can imagine this to be any other nasty combat unit that you don't want to fight. So let's hypothetically say this is towards the end of the game. You don't want to fight these units. You need to chaff them both. You don't want them charging your bunker or whatever it is. Now, commonly, what will happen for stuff like direwolves here is they will have several guys dead. You might even be down to 1 model. In this case, and these just could be a bit more spaced out, something like that, what you can do is you can move this unit forward and chaff like so. Pretty standard chaffing maneuver. Basically everyone knows this. You can do that, that's not a problem. Pretty simple strategy. And what you can do is in your magic phase, because you're vampires, you'll have several spells to create redundancy, so you can probably get one of these off. You can threaten to summon a new unit of zombies here and chaff the other opponent's other unit. You may have Raven's Wing, so you can move another unit in. And you will probably have several raises. And so what you can do is you can raise this dog unit, and you don't have to bring them back in the same formation they originally were. So you can start adding dogs towards the back, like so, and then however many you need, and that would chaff the second unit. This is it's kind of obvious when you do it this way. So a trickier way to do it can be with great bats. So great bats are really interesting in that when you lose one, the unit becomes a lot more versatile. So these units may be closer together, something like this. So you could put one down like so. And you can drop your second great bat here, or you could drop it here. And so by doing this, you can sort of catch your opponent off guard by raising units at different formations than they originally were to create chaffing opportunities. This is a super common one to catch people at, but not only you can also do this for scoring objectives. Now you can see I put this ruler across the front of the table. That's going to demonstrate where my opponent's objective zone is, so for breakthrough. But you can also imagine this to be a single point for any of the other objectives. So a zombie unit can move 8 inches if it marches, or 4 inches if it can't. Now if you reform this unit, each model in the unit can move up to their march distance. So this means each model you can move up to 8 inches maximum in a turn. This is including their reform. So what you can do, if I have put that in there correctly, something like that. So that is moving models a bit, and then you can move forward a little. That is 6-7 inches. So you can't quite go 1 deep, but you can move forward like that. But what you could also do is, if I was to delete this unit, you can also create a unit of zombies that is super long. This also works for chaffing as well. So let's say we have this unit here, something like that. So this unit can move backwards slightly. You notice I've placed the unit the other direction. So you're 6, 7, 8. It's a bit too far, something like that. So that's as far as your unit can move in the movement phase. Of course, that still doesn't quite reach you to where you need to be for your objective. However, because you are now 1 deep and your rear is facing that way, when you raise new models, you must add them onto the back. So, if you were to cast a raise spell on there, you get 2d6 plus 4 zombies. In this case, I have rolled a double 6. As you can see, my good dice only come through when I'm not actually playing a game. So you would add another, in this case, 16 zombies onto the back of this unit. Let's just grab another unit of these, and you replace as many of them as you could, which would put you inside the enemy's objective zone, and thus scoring, because this is not a summoned unit, this was a unit you started the board with. So this can be a sneaky way to score objectives, and again, you can also, you've got multiple raises to threaten this with. Will often have access to Raven's Wing to threaten this with. So what you're doing is you're stacking up spells, so hopefully you get one through, and you want to have a situation where you only need one to in order to score the objective. So these are sort of tricks and tips you can use for scoring. You can do the same thing with skeletons. If you have a depleted skeleton unit, or if you have a necromancer eraser unit, they can do the same thing. In fact, any of the vampire units can do the same thing by sort of, when they're depleted, reforming into positions that will allow them to, when raised, the new models that come on will block things or score things it wouldn't normally do. But you can also do this. You can also do this for anything with druidism, as well as UD. But it just works best for vampires because they raise so bloody fast. Okay, so until next time, guys.
There we go. Jack Tactics number 2, Jactics.
Oh, mate, I'm loving these Jactics. They're so good, aren't they?
No,
You know,
brilliant.
Tell you what,
Yeah.
some of those janky congas though, man, throwing out zombies.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I
You
mean,
know what is going to happen, right? You're like, oh, just let that one off. You're like, oh, I didn't see
yeah. It's when you get to the tabletop and they go, I'll just remove the tray. I don't need that anymore. Was
the other thing with VC is like they always keep the models there, don't they? You know, normally you kill a model, it's like get him off the table. Like, no, I'll just leave him there. Like,
who is it? Someone actually, I don't know whether it might have just been a rumor, but someone said that they'd got a 1x30 movement tray because they use it so much or something. It's ridiculous. I was just like, oh man, how can you?
When I first started playing, someone had a 10x10. Movement tray for zombies.
Yeah,
because he was, because like he'd say, I'd start with X-Men. This was before like Ninth Age and balance and all that.
Yeah,
like I start with X-Men. I just want to raise up until I get 100, and then I'm happy.
Yeah,
all I want to do is just have a zombie cloud.
Yeah. Hashtag tarp it. Right. Anyway, so back to it, and one thing we did mention before the break was that pocket of elites, and I think we're getting very, very close to that, if not reached it, with our next player who needs, it needs to go to the beach, get some sun first off. But yeah, Mikey Newman.
Now, this is a real pillar of the community as well, coming up hot on the heels of Ed here. Former captain of the England ETC, bloody nice all-round guy. You know, when I first got back into playing Night, only too happy to play a complete noob. And there aren't many top players who will happily, share information with you and give you those sorts of coaching tips and stuff. Obviously whilst he's 20 and you with his vampires, but it's a really nice guy and knows what he's doing as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely no man's fault.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of shown through his tournament things this year. 9th, 6th, 8th. Pretty solid, right?
Yeah, well, like we were saying, Autumn Assault, he was there in the final game playing against Ryan.
Yeah.
And the most impressive thing here is it's all done with vampires, right? Vampire counts, which I think everyone would agree aren't one of the, I think most vampire counts players would say they're not one of the top 8 armies, but they're certainly not one of the top 4 or 5. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is, a real testament to his actual talent and ability to be able to regularly finish in the top 10 with a subpar army.
Yeah, and I mean, big Masters player as well. Not just the last 3 years, but before that as well. Not the best record, surprisingly for a player of his caliber. Will he be? I mean, I guess you'd half expect him to do better than the 16th. I don't think many people have put him for last. But can he beat 7th?
Yeah, that's a good question, mate. I think
he'll be taking Vamps, won't he? So that might
he's a
hinder
good
a bit.
player, but I think he'll struggle with Vamps to get into the top 6.
It kind of depends what other people take as well to some degree, right? So if we see a lot of ID, say a lot of Dark Elves, a lot of demons, and Vamps probably really struggle against those armies.
Sure.
I think Vamps are obviously very good when you just need stuff to just hold and then get your counter charges in.
Yeah. Do you think perhaps because obviously he knows his stuff? I don't think that's in question. Do you think he could be a dark horse to change his army last minute as a sort of mind gamesy thing? Is he that kind of player that would throw a spanner in the works?
I have to say no because he's already shared his list with me.
Right. Okay.
Literally about an hour ago, we were having a chat in the
Fair play.
in the England chat, and he's like, "This is my list," and so I was like, "So I could have led you down the card."
You could have.
Yeah.
It could have been that question.
but
But no, that's.
I actually think that's probably, some players will change around a lot, and I think Mike has been quite consistent with VC.
He has used other armies before. I've definitely played him before when he's using Isles, I think it was. So I know he can use other armies, but yeah, he's been VCs for ages now. Yeah,
he's definitely used Dark Elves. I mean, usually, I think I've played him. Oh, I've even played him using Dwarves actually. He ran,
Dwarves. That's what he was doing last year, wasn't it? Dwarves.
Yeah. And he had the big old.
He had those. Yeah, he had the Hold Guardian trip.
Two big blocks.
And all the Scout Vanguard blocks, didn't he? Yeah, lots and lots of Vanguard.
Yeah. And of course 2 cannons, right? Because
of course.
But yeah, so good luck, Mikey. So we're perhaps saying that it depends on the meta for Mikey. If it again, I guess with a bit of luck, he could really push. But
and I think it's probably worth pointing out Mike is also like not only just pillar but runs tournaments, right? And I think that's probably linked to. And there's always the first person to say, "I'll step down if people have bailed on day 1 and they're not coming back for day 2." And runs TEC, has run the physical masters for the last few years as well. Up in Stockport, So
absolutely. He's I mean, big in the community and running the tournaments and stuff. TEC is always a good tournament as well, so does it well. Right, next person, and probably I don't know, mate. You can make the call, but is he the biggest overachiever of this year?
Well, he certainly he started like an absolute steam train, didn't he? He was like a burning phoenix to start with, and we just was ripping everyone to bits to start with, and then since then has I don't know, maybe not been quite as hot since then. Is he hitting the Masters burning hot? I think there's questions over it, but with the Highborn. I mean, he certainly set the scene on fire, didn't he?
Yeah.
Early doors.
Quite literally with, I think it was double Flame Phoenix in his first list at Art of War, Queen's Guard as a solid throughout the thing. So, I mean, not a typical High Elf player before this year. So, turned over when, from Masters actually, the Masters Open, I should say, where he played in that. So, before, was he just Saurians or other armies as well?
Saurians, as far as I'm aware. I think it's worth putting out there as well that in sort of between Art of War and Lockdown Brawl, we went to Luxembourg, and he was. I'm going to put it in there. Lions were the top ranked UK team.
Shots fired.
And actually, he top scored for us. Finished 13th out of 130 on individual performance. Right, with I think it was 5 wins and 4 wins and a draw, something like that.
It's fantastic.
And even his draw, was like a 13-7 or something.
Yeah.
So he's his first 6 months of 2020 were he was probably the best and most consistent player on the scene, I would say. And then obviously second half has been a little bit more challenging, but once you've locked your place, you can afford to try new things.
Yeah, that's it. And perhaps that might have been, especially towards Winter War when he was quite high up. He knows he's going to be there or thereabouts, so he can see what else is good to maybe refine for the Masters list. You don't know. Typically, not a player that flits around, so we're thinking Highborn Elves for.
Yeah, I'd say so. I can't see him using anything else. Yeah, he's been using them all year, hasn't he? Solidly. So the Queen's Guard will be out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I second his choice in that. They're a very good unit.
It's a really interesting list as well that he pulls together, right? He's got his Queen's Guard, he's obviously got his choppy block. He's got a unit of knights, sort of fast scoring, a little bit hard hitting, and then loves a dragon. I love anyone who loves a dragon, right?
That's it, mate. But what more? What else is there to love about this man?
I can't have something to point with chariots at.
And I think it's also worth pointing out that in a field of bloody nice chaps, this is a really, really lovely guy. He's absolutely lovely.
Yeah, he's no filthmonger. He took a whole army of Saurus warriors. to one event, nothing but gore. It was great.
Yeah. I don't think he had the best time though, right? We were saying earlier, sometimes you take a lift and you're not really enjoying playing it.
Yeah.
And it might take three games for you to get there. I'm pretty sure it's about 3 turns in Mark's game.
That's fair play. But yeah, I guess PB of 9th that I know of, anyway, the last 3 years. Will he beat it this year? Can he beat it?
Yeah.
Not sure how
Top
highboard elves fit in the meta. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of
I
shooting.
wonder how they do against Dark Elves. Because I suspect they probably trade badly against ID, right?
Yeah, flaming, especially Queen's Guard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a Pyro or Alchemy guy.
Yeah.
I don't know with the new Dread Elves. The new Dread Elves kind of... It's swingy. The Hereditary is massively bad for the High Elves. But...
Poison shooting is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, poison shooting is bad. But
kind of
Dread Elves
poison
don't like
shooting.
shooting either. And High Elves have that in abundance. So it could be just a shoot-off. Who has the best shooting dice and wins? I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting one.
And I suppose it comes down to the spells as well, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because if you've got Div or Cosmo, which I expect Mark will probably be running if he's taking High Elves, right? That gives you some pew at range from magic.
Yeah.
Whereas the Temple Legates tend to have, because they're either Alchemy or Div, and they're adept, so they don't have quite the same threat at range when it comes to magic. So interesting. But yeah, I think he's got a chance to do well. I would expect top 10. I don't think Mark will win it. I think if you'd asked me in July, I might have said something different.
Sure.
Yeah,
no, fair play. Well, good luck though, Mark. Next up is my first master and one of my wargaming man crushes because I have about 18. But yeah, the first master when I come on the scene, so has won the Masters, and it's a pretty good Masters record after that. He's no chump.
I mean, could this be the first double winner of the Masters? Because there can be nobody on the scene who is better prepared. Jake is an absolute cruncher of the numbers. Super well prepared. He comes with a reputation as leaving no stone unturned. This is a guy who will not lose for want of preparation. Absolutely. He takes it ever so seriously. He's a super intelligent guy, and I've got a funny feeling. I think he's one of my 2 people who I really think is likely to be winning this.
I mean, playing ID as well. So he hasn't got one of the bottom armies at all.
Yeah. He's probably played the most games on ID. I would suspect certainly in the English scene, right?
He'll probably be second to Hugh. In terms of UB matches and stuff.
Total games,
he's been in loads of tournaments this year. He's consistently been using ID, and he's been doing really well with them.
Yeah, I mean, did win a tournament, as we've already mentioned.
Tournament that shall not be named.
Yes,
on the record.
absolutely.
Mate, I finished 6th in that tournament. You have no idea how gutted I am, right? Best result ever.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, for sure, I think one of the big things with Jake is he's got 5 days in between, if not longer, to prep for it, and that's his forte, man. Hasn't always been on ID, so has been on I think KOE and I want to say EOS, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's been Empire.
Lizards before that as well.
So yeah, I mean the armies
Lizards a few years ago. So.
Sure, the army swap won't particularly scare him. Might be a few that he needs to read up on, but he'll have the time. And if he wants to prep and stuff, I guess that's his best thing. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe this could be this could really favour Jake as a player and in terms of a format.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm not sure. I think it's probably Jake's definitely probably the best prepared going into any Masters, right? And I think he'll say that about himself as well. So, and the reason he won in 2017 is he found something he liked with the KOE book and played a shit ton of games ahead of Masters, was thoroughly prepared, and then rocked up and then wiped the floor with people. And, no doubt he will have been doing all of his research, all of his tournaments. He'll have been trying out different lists and different things just to see what he prefers because he really wants to be the first double 9th age master, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, put the 9th age bit in there as well because some people get upset.
Yeah. Well, I have been listening to a couple of the podcasts, and some people are a little bit upset about that. So let's just throw in the First double ninth age master.
Ninth age master.
I mean, he's never going to be the people's master, right? You know, we all know who that is.
Right, next one, and I think is my tip, which is, and I think Bookie's favourite.
I would agree with you. It's definitely my tip.
We're gonna zoom straight down to that Masters record of 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and leaving it for this year. It's got to be first, Colin Power.
Yeah, I think he's a absolute solid player. He's been playing for years. He's normally Saurians, but he's obviously shown with his other. He can mix it up with other armies.
Yeah.
That's not all he can use. Yeah.
Oh, well, he won a tournament with EOS, didn't he? I mean, it wasn't a ranking tournament, but he was forced to play them and won the tournament anyway. I mean,
do you want to tell this story again, Matt? Are you sure?
I don't want to tell this story. This story's been told and exaggerated repeatedly. But I mean, this guy's the consummate professional. You know, he works for the Bank of Ireland as one of their derivative guys. You know, he's a brain the size of a planet. Absolutely intellectual gargant, and then he plays the cloud, doesn't he? He's got the skink cloud going on, and he knows what he's doing. So I'm not sure that he won't get I can see why you think he's the bookie's favourite. For me, I think there are marginally better players, but make no doubt about it. This is a top act.
So I think Colin's probably, of the players here, probably one of the 3 best, alongside Tanker and Craig.
Yeah,
is probably I would say. I've also, my anecdote about about Collins. I've never felt more outmatched in a tournament ever. The only time I've played Colin. It was a team tournament. We were drawn against. I think it was sort of like a team which had Colin and Dante in it, so you can imagine we'd obviously had a good round. We obviously had a good round 1, right?
Yeah, sure.
we didn't have a good round 2. I'm not going to lie, but I was playing lizards just because I have a lizard army, and to let the team, someone else, I think it was Ryan, play KOE, and I was drawn to play against Colin. So playing against probably the best lizard player, certainly the best lizard player in the country, probably one of the best in the world, right? Literally wrote the book.
Yeah.
With an army that I'd played once before, and that was the previous game in the round, and I have never felt so outmatched in a game where, you know, I just thought I just didn't feel like I had a chance from turn 1, you know, from the first dice roll. And but again, you know, such an incredibly solid player, really thoughtful, knows the rules inside out, knows everyone's books inside out. I think he's going to be up there. You know, I think he'll be going there to win it. He's not going there to he's not going there for I want a top 5 finish, right?
Yeah.
He's going there to win it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be interesting to see what list he takes, right? Or which army, you know, whether he takes lizards or highborns.
Yeah.
I think he'll default back to the lizards. He knows it well.
It would make sense, but yeah,
How they do in the points update? Actually, I'm not 100% sure how lizards did in the points.
Oh yeah, that's true. I think they might have ruined his Taurosaur spam list.
So that might have an effect, but he might be looking at other stuff there, you know. So
yeah,
you know, I think it'll be interesting to see what list. And he was obviously very good with the highborn elves. He took them to House War?
House War. Yeah. Finished second. So yeah. So he can do it in all of them. So if he gets Mark's list on the on the army swap, he's flying. But yeah, no, absolutely. Certainly, I think he's going to be my pick for the Masters this year. But moving on, I mean, and now you don't get bad players at all. I think someone out there will pick the next four players. Tanker, Adam Jones, the number 2 seed, and I think we were saying to him for another time, he is the number 2 guy.
Well, he's come second in an awful lot of tournaments, but he's famous for his MSU setups. He comes with some really unusual lists. Serious players whose opinion I really rate, think this is the best player in the country, and I can't see how he won't be in and amongst it right at the end. Yeah. So the very interesting list, very a really interesting MSU, lots of mobility as a player, and consistently achieving some of the best results throughout the year. And for me, that consistency that he's going to take into the Masters is going to see him to certainly contention at the end.
Yeah, as Rory said before about Colin being just, outclassed as soon as they go on the table, I'm exactly the same with Tanker. As soon as he has a list of shit, essentially. You look at it and go, I could beat every single thing in that list, but together as a whole, it just smashes you off before you fucking realise the mistake you made. So, yeah.
And the bastard's nice about it as well, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, he's my guy on that as well. He's the nicest guy that's ever beat me 19-1, and he got the one.
Hang on a second, I've beaten you 19. No, we haven't played.
No, we got really close actually one of the Outer Wars, and we
actually were giving each other shit, and they changed the draw. Do you remember all night?
He's the only guy I've ever played who told me I was making mistakes whilst I was making them, and allowed me to go back and change them. And still 20 me.
Yeah,
it's out of order, but thank you.
He's one of the. It's interesting. I think Tanker gets a real edge in the list swap round because he puts together lists that not everyone always sees how they necessarily work. I know obviously there's an MSU style, but I think there's a particular approach that he has to his MSU style as well, which means that, if I pick up a Tanker list, I'm going to really, really struggle to actually use it.
Yeah, that's it. It's not so much that he will have a benefit in it, that someone will have a real negative getting his list, because unless you understand it play like Kev says, everything dies. Everything can die to anything. There's nothing in there. I think, but the last time I played him, apart from his one character, everything was less than 300 points. So none of that can do anything on its own. So you really have to know where you're putting stuff and everything. And I think that could be a despoiler or a spoiler sort of thing, and actually make a difference that round for someone.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think, and again, like just to echo what you guys said, Tanker's a great player, right? He's again definitely one of the top three, and I think certainly one of the top three here. I know we've got Amit who's not here, and he probably features in the top four as well, right? But yeah, Tanker's and again just a lovely bloke, right? Like you finish playing him and you give him a hug, right? And then obviously not in COVID times, social distancing and all that.
So safe. Wash your hands, guys. Yeah, no, absolutely. And last of the regular rankings that we're going to look at is Jeff Keeling. He's the one on the left for anybody watching. He's not the Great White. I presume it's a Great White, but this isn't a nature show. This is Ninth Age. So Jeff, quite famously at the start of the year, won Art of War and stayed pretty consistent. Didn't let up much. At his worst one was 11th out of 44. And
don't take this the wrong way, Kev. He's done it with Beast Turds as well.
He's done it with
he's much better at Beast Turds than me. Absolutely, that's his go-to army.
His Beast Herd, because he did change it up. Fair play to him, but his Beast Herd tournament records are first and second. So yeah, he knows his stuff.
And I think the Orcs he used for lockdown brawls, the first time we'd ever used Orcs, and the Warriors as well was the first time we ever used Warriors.
Well, there you go.
It's interesting because he's only played 4 tournaments all year, right?
Yeah,
those are his 4 tournaments.
Those are,
and the worst he's done is finish 11th. And that's the reason. That's the reason he's ranked 1 going into Masters, right?
Absolutely. And it's a very good player. Really good interview with him on the Slan Rat as well. Although there's lots of very good interviews with everyone actually. But talking about being first and sort of his expectations and things. And do we see him living up to his first ranking?
I think he'll do very, very well.
He's the quiet man, though, isn't he? I mean, he doesn't play ETC. He's the silent assassin. He's the guy in the background that suddenly it's like, oh wow, Jeff's won again.
Yeah.
He
doesn't go to Masters. Normally goes on holiday and stuff and work.
Yeah.
He's lost 3 games all year.
Wow.
What were those losses out of interest as well? Have you got them?
Once to Tanker at Art of War.
Oh yeah, that was last round.
That was last round. He needed 5. He got 5. I think it's what he needed.
Yeah. I think it was something like he was 18 points up and played Tanker, who was the only guy that could have beaten him or something like that.
Then once at Lockdown Brawl, he got 19-1 by Craig. And then his other defeat was in House War. He lost 11-9 to Marcus.
So,
He's had a couple of draws in there, a couple of sort of small wins, but
Sure,
lots of big
yeah.
wins. But yeah, like 3 losses all year. I mean, that's just my last tournament, right?
right. So absolutely. So this guy is up there. Is he anybody's favourite? Like you said, he's probably the quiet one. He's probably going to sneak up behind and be there if it round 5, round 6, and see if he
I
can
wouldn't
do it.
be shocked if he did do it, but I think he will struggle against the big boys. I think as lost his show, he's lost to the big guys. So I think when it comes to them, he will be up there playing against them. But I think that they will bring him back.
Is there also something though that I'm not sure if any of the Masters winners have ever finished the year ranked number 1?
No.
Where was
Craig last year?
That's the only person I was wondering.
I think
was Craig number 1 last year.
I think Craig might have been the first one, because it sounds like something Craig would do. Although I'd be surprised that it's not common knowledge if it is, because he'd definitely be saying it every time he goes on a podcast or something.
Or maybe he doesn't realise it's a thing and we've just told him, and now he's going to be saying it all the time. So maybe just cut all of this.
Yeah, absolutely, it's gone, edited, it's done. But yeah, so Jeff, good luck, and certainly got the skill to be up there at least. Right, next one is a very interesting one. He is the first of our auto qualifiers. Alistair Parran, another Lions person, and before we sort of go into him, he is officially our most decorated player of the year.
Won 2 tournaments, won the Masters side or open event, and then House War right at the end with the Greenskins, so that's no mean feat. Really nice chap as well, and he's obviously an auto qualifier, which then gave him carte blanche to do as you wish throughout the year, which is obviously an advantage. But this is my smash and grab sort of joker card here. He's going to go through he's going to beat some people. I'm not necessarily think he's going to win it, but I think he's going to beat someone who otherwise might have won it, if you get my drift on this. I think he's got the ability to take anybody down at any given moment.
Skin, right, in that sense.
Yeah,
he could prevent someone from winning, and it might not even be because he beats them, but it might be because it's a 10-10 or it's like a close 11-9 or something like that, right?
Yeah. For sure, and if again that marries up with all the stats for this year, because he's won 2 tournaments, he is factually the most decorated player that in terms of winning tournaments. However, in his other 4, he's got a 14 out of 44 and a 39 out of 44. So he's that yo-yo player. Perhaps, as you say, there's that element of I've already qualified, because Masters side event was at the very start of the year. So him and the Master know that they've got the year off, so to speak, in that thing. So there is that element, but wouldn't have qualified if it wasn't for it, the auto. So there's that really interesting mix with Alistair, that he, like you said, he could go beat anyone, and he has, and he knows how to win tournaments. But at the same time, he has that in him, that inconsistency maybe that might suffer. And just being Orcs and Goblins and quite self proclaiming that it's just doing that, the army swap might hurt him.
I don't know. I think other people being forced to use Orcs and Goblins might hurt them. It's not an army I'll be comfortable with, and I think he might be the Joker who just takes a crazy list that no one expects, and people just be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Alistair doesn't like taking musicians, and I think that might stumble people, right? If you think if you think of the first piece of command you normally take on a block of orcs, you'd probably go musician, right? And Alistair doesn't, right? Interestingly, me and him are sharing a list for the American Teams tournament, New Year's Revolution, and so we've kind of like worked together to pull this list together. And it's one of the things I thought, I'm actually going to try it. Try the no musician thing. So maybe I'll if I do get his list, I'll actually have an insight, because I'll have played a list that he's at least partially put together.
Yeah, sure.
It saves you 10 points. It's not worth it.
Well, yeah. Now it doesn't matter, does it?
But if it means you get 1125 core, it might be worth it, right?
Hey, if you don't have 13 musicians, it's another Feldrack.
I mean, Tanker will be listening to that because he has units that he might have that many units. But yeah, no, Alistair, good luck for that. Another linesman, as we said, so another.
Yeah, new this year.
Yeah.
And again, great. What I would say from this as well, and I would keep saying every time, if you just want to get a little bit better at, playing toy soldiers, throw your hand for the Lions every year from now on. It's going to be a thing. It's not going to go away. We've grown the number of people who are in the Lions. Christo's now come on with all of his experience to help coach. So it's we take it seriously, but we have fun at the same time, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, great. And last of the rankings, we're going to look at the master himself, Craig Johnson, Gamerface, Craig Master, UK Rocky. Tells you a lot about him just in the forum name. But yeah, England to ECC, been to a lot of masters before. The current master won it last year, and I know is taking this one very seriously.
And the only player who I've ever heard Dan Thomas say outplayed him. And that's high praise indeed. This is, I think, the most naturally gifted player at the tournament. Lots of lateral movement. It could do anything. And in my opinion, his to lose. For me, it's between him and Jake, and I think he's got his nose ahead.
Do you think it comes down to the list and the race that Craig chooses? Because if you have a look, he doesn't always choose power races, right? Dread Elves when they weren't before the update, right? So right down the bottom. Sylvan Elves obviously recently, but then he's not afraid to take the power armies because he's obviously taken Warriors and ID. Although I suspect he tends to look for different builds than what you would expect to see.
Yeah, I think so. And as you say, I believe the only player out of that whole list to have 4 different armies in counting towards his 4 different rankings points.
And he won the Masters with VS as well. So,
well, there you go.
A 5th one.
I mean, this is a guy that the army swap actually he will look forward to it rather than anything else. He would be really looking forward to that round because he will be able to do some damage.
Would you regard him as being the most versatile player as well? That you could just you could empty a shoebox of models onto the table and he'd still batter you.
Yes, absolutely. I think
it's interesting because I wonder if he'd actually be good with if someone took blocks, right? Say Ed took some ogre blocks, right? How good would Craig be with a big block of bruisers, big block of mercs, and then maybe a couple of smaller scoring darts, that type of thing? Because I've never
50 scraplings sort of thing.
And I've 50 scraplings, right? I've never seen Craig play blocks. I'm sure he'd be far more competent than I am. Being more competent than I am isn't a metric by which means you're going to win Masters, right? So I suspect that that army could actually hamper him, even if he knows the book very well in terms of the actual army style, the way. And or someone like me might have just written a shit list, right? And that could always hamper someone in an army swap round, look at the list and go, what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I mean, as one of the Masters he knows how to win a tournament and talks a lot on his podcast as well about all the different armies, what they're good for, knows a lot of stuff, and doesn't just play 9th Age. He plays lots of tournaments, and I think this guy,
the Malifaux Master as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
As well.
So this is our official first double master, is what you're saying.
multi-system, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this guy. I guess when you're looking at him, you're going, well, part of his skill and part of his thing that he brings to it is actually he knows how to play tournaments rather than the lists and all that stuff. He knows how to get the best out of tournaments and things and has that experience. So
I think he just naturally gets war games. I think he just understands it, and probabilities and things like that just come easy to him. He's a very much an intuitive player rather than I think Jake's the opposite, who's a very much plan everything kind of player.
Yeah.
Whereas he would just turn up and smash you off 20-0 easily.
Yeah. Although he is saying at the minute, you listen to his podcast, and he's saying he's doing a lot of prep. Masters is one of the things that ETC takes seriously. So
he's taking this seriously,
it's a bit like Marcus. A focused Marcus is scary. A focused Craig it might be next level,
And it's interesting. I wonder if the fact that ETCs are unlikely to happen is that something like this, where there is a lot of high-level players, right? So you are, it's not unreasonable that you get 5 of the top 10 players in the country in successive games, which just doesn't happen in tournaments, right?
Yes.
It just doesn't happen. And so I wonder if the better players, and certainly the ETC players, are using it as, well, actually, if I want to stay sharp and I want to stay honed, then this is something I do need to take seriously, because, the same way that everyone wants to get better, they want to get better, right? The way you stay at the top isn't by standing still, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
Craig's interesting because he actually completely changed the way I write lists, or the way I think about writing lists, after playing him just once, and having a conversation about it afterwards in terms of what I was trying to achieve and what I wanted from my list. And he did it in a really nice way, not in a this is shit kind
you
of
idiot.
way.
Exactly.
And you actually mentioned it earlier, lateral movement, the real power in ninth age. When everyone's moving in straight lines. If everyone's a rook, you want to be the queen, right?
Yeah.
That's a
And
powerful...
isn't Craig our queen?
He certainly is, and that is a powerful motion to end the ranked people on. Craig, the Queen Master. We're going to go to a quick break to look at our competition that we have. We already, we already have lots of entrants for it. So get your entrants in. And without further ado, here is our competition for the Masters coverage. Hi guys, I'm Lucky-Sixes.
And I'm MattyP.
And today we're here to introduce the Masters 2021 competition, where you can win a whole host of prizes, including painted models from the Gobbo and Kev, lifetime TTS subscription, gaming book from Heretic Games, Rotten Factory unpainted Nurgle champion, laser sight pen, and a free standard size commission from the Gobbo himself. All you have to do to win one of these prizes is answer this simple question. What was the latest army book released by the Ninth Age? Was it A, Orcs and Goblins, B, Dread Elves, or C, Undying Dynasties? And Matty, how do you enter this wonderful competition?
Well, Lucky-Sixes, I'm glad that you asked. All we're asking people to do to enter this competition, and let's face it, why wouldn't you, with a list of prizes like that, is simply to send us an email to the following address: pairedweaponpodcast@gmail.com. That's pairedweaponpodcast, all lowercase and all one word, @gmail.com. Don't forget to include your contact number, your contact Twitter, your contact forum, and any way other that you'd like us to let you know if you've been a lucky winner or not. And don't forget to keep an eye out for the PTG videos at the end of the Masters, where we'll be announcing those lucky winners.
Yes, at least 7 winners we will have through this competition, so it is well worth you entering. Make sure you check out all our other content on several podcasts, including Paired Weapon Podcast, Slanrat, Thundercocks, and Fantasy Wargaming Podcast, and of course the videos right here on PTG. That's it from us. Best of luck, and stay tuned for more content.
Best of luck, guys. See you later.
So there we have it, our competition, Matt.
Wow, there's some fantastic prizes there, guys. So seriously, get yourself involved. Get that email sent to Paired Weapon Podcast. Let us know what the answer is. Don't forget to include your contact details so we can let you know if you've won one of those wonderful prizes. And this has got to be the biggest Ninth Age competition that's ever been run. Hey, Lucky-Sixes.
Oh, absolutely. We got, 7 different prizes, one from Kev, who's right here, who we've already bigged up his painting thing. So some lucky winner will get to prove whether he's good or not. Right?
I've got the laser pen right here.
Laser pen, yeah.
Laser pen.
So yeah, mixture of painted, unpainted model. It's a good haul.
Does the laser pen help with you, Beal?
If you're on a webcam, it does, right?
Yeah.
I was going
but
to say,
yeah.
Kev, I can't win the painted model. Like, it'd put the rest of my army to shame. Right? I'd have to give you a model from an army I don't use.
Yeah.
You know, and just to leave it on the shelf. You know, so like, yeah, that's a prize.
No,
It's not
you
gonna
go
put my paint
character.
to
You got to go
shame.
character every time, surely.
Yeah, it's give me character.
Yeah.
No,
No.
100%. It's going to be like a dragon, right?
Standard size.
One of those 40k Titans. I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right, anyway, yeah. So to finish, before we say goodbye, we do have a little segment here, which is focusing on the players that just missed out, and I thought were definitely very important to include. The group of players I like to call the Bridesmaids. Always the bridesmaids, never the bride. Although for this segment, it's not because they just missed out points wise. There's lots of different various reasons. For example, our first bridesmaid. And I'm going to stick with it, and you can call John Turner and all the rest bridesmaid for the rest of the year, please, everybody. He was an auto-qualifier because he won the second auto-qualifying tournament in Scottish Championships.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he took his ogres up to Stirling, up to Common Ground Games up in Scotland, and won that tournament. But he's one of the players who hasn't taken to UB, and after a little bit of arm twisting, decided that he wasn't going to take up his place at the Masters, and that kind of benefited one of us rather a little bit, didn't it?
I begged him. I begged him, please don't go, John. Let me go. Come on, it's my only chance. And he kindly sort of took pity upon me and decided to bow out. So thank you, John.
So is
let
now
me
a
go.
good time to announce John as one of our competition winners, Kev?
Yeah, why not? I'll paint whatever you want.
But yeah, no. Obviously won the Scottish Championship, so congrats for that. And this sort of highlights a point that I really like. And as a new thing and something that's going to be carrying on, you can just win one tournament, not play a tournament, and still qualify for the
I can't
Masters.
even win one tournament.
I know, right?
That makes that easy.
Well, no, but if you do get through that, and I mean, let's be honest, John didn't get there through luck. He's a good player, but
No, it's a very good player.
if you do have that, you can use the time. You don't necessarily have to go to tournaments, and it does open up to those players like myself. That if we get lucky, you have a really lucky tournament and get to that winner.
I think you're absolutely right, Lucky-Sixes. You know, you got puncher's chance, haven't you? You know, you get in there and you swing and you do all right, and then you're there. You're at the show. You go into the Super Bowl, and I really like this as well. Now, I do think that John, if he'd have played the season in real life or had been a partaker of the UB, I think he would have qualified very handsomely. He's a top player and he knows what he's doing. And behind some of those lists, he is very, very strong. And I think would have been in and around that sort of the top of the Championship, bottom of the Premier League.
Yeah.
And he loves taking Merc blocks, right? And as we've
Yeah, he
discussed,
does, yeah.
they're just
He
filth,
loves
right?
so
You know,
good.
they're so good. So
Yeah, man. Well, and I mean, it's backed up by this wouldn't have been his first Masters either. He has been there before for different reasons. So I mean, a good player that's just missed out, worth mentioning. But does highlight that one win, one of the right ones, which is I'm going to say this or was a Masters Open event, but isn't going to be from this year. But is going to be Scottish, English, Welsh, and Irish Championships. All get a spot, so that's pretty cool.
And if it means that more people go to these events, that's great,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That's what it's all about.
That's what you want, right? You know, like
Yeah,
it's a fantastic reward for being a national champion.
Well,
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh, fantastic! That's it, and that's what. And then they're already great events, but there's that extra thing for bringing that extra 2 or 3 people that might not have gone beforehand, but just bumps up the numbers, bumps it up for everyone. It's always better when more people go, and it's going to do that for all those tournaments, and it's. Yeah, I really like that. That's one step forward that we've made. I love. I really like.
I think we definitely want more people going to Scottish Championships. It's autumn qualifying event, so come on up.
Absolutely.
It's lovely in Stirling as well. One day we'll make it to the castle.
Get on the Kevin Matt bus. We'll take it weekend.
So the second bridesmaid, and you can decide which one of the 3 each one marries up to in the picture, is Amit.
I take it back, Jack. I take it back. That is the most boring picture of all of them. That's just it's his work pass.
I think he put this forward for his submission to be the next Bond.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing it's corporate. I'm hoping it's not like an identity parade or something.
But yeah, no. Amit, a guy we actually have mentioned a little bit earlier today, England captain. Would you say Rory does a lot for the scene in terms of the Lions as well?
Yeah, well, he's introduced the Lions, and I think the big thing with Emmett is that he's been really keen to make it a lot more inclusive. I think there is historically there's been a perception, and probably an unfair perception, that actually the England team was a bit of an old boys club, and actually Emmett said, well, it's not true, and the way I'm going to prove it is by making it more inclusive, and he sort of set up the Lions. He comes down, he lives in London, he comes down and plays club guys in London, right, in the LWG. Admittedly, tables them in 3 rounds, tells them what they did wrong, and then goes home, right? But actually, it's great for
on his lunch break, right?
Yeah, but it's great for the scene to see the England captain actually, being willing to come down and just take pickup games at the club, right? And I think that's a huge asset to Amit. He's not always the most vocal in the various chats, but I think what he does in real life sort of more than makes up for that.
He's one of those people that when he talks, you should listen. He doesn't have a lot to say, but what he says is very, very sensible. And of course, he made it into he qualified for the Masters on the back of 3 tournaments.
Look at that record, man. Look at that record. 7th, 3rd,
beat me with 3 events.
Yeah, it's I mean, just phenomenal thing. And again, perhaps not for Joe Blogs on the street, but I mean, it does throw another spanner in the works for Masters qualifying. You don't have to get 4 if you do very, very well at 3. So, I mean, I think it was something like if it had just turned up to one of the other tournaments he didn't go to, finished last, played all his games, he would have finished 13th. Also, it's crazy, really, how well he did.
He probably had to finish outside the top 10 not to be top.
Yeah,
those 3 results,
quite
right?
possibly. Quite possibly. I mean, it would have had a really fair shout if it had got another. I mean, another 3rd, 4th, 7th, he for sure.
Yeah,
gets
definitely
in.
would have been there.
But yeah, so another big player, and perhaps everyone's breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that he's not there. Our next and final bridesmaid, who is a bridesmaid in the true sense of the word this year, is our mate Hristo, coach of the Lions. And I mean, ETC Bulgaria. Although he's quite adamant that he's not captain, not in 9th anyway. But yeah, had a decent year. Always a Masters qualifier, and just by that one person, missed out. Kev.
It was close earlier. Points, 0.5,
Very close.
I think.
Oh, should we have a look? So he got 254.20. If we look at our man Kev. 254.87, and that's
0.67.
that's close. That is close. But hey, the points are there. You did the job. It's hard not to look at your picture.
That's all I'm looking at.
Yeah. Everyone's like 200 and what? So yeah, Hristo finished 17th. He's one of those guys that I can't help but listen to when he talks about tactics and things. I mean, don't get me wrong, talks way too much, but he's one of those guys that even that I will listen to, and I often go to him for advice because he plays a bit of high elves and stuff as well. And he's one of those guys, and he's really, really sound. I think my first tournament 3 years ago at War, where I was just go around everyone going, "Hi, I'm Tom. Hi, that sort of thing." And he was one of the guys that sat there 20 minutes and chatted to me, so I got a lot of time for this guy. And
another big thinker about the game as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
What he's forgotten about fantasy and Ninth Age is probably more than I actually know. Right? And actually, and I know it's not on here, but he's actually a former Masters winner from back in the day as well, back in the Warhammer Fantasy Battle days. So,
okay. Well,
yeah, he's been on the circuit for ages.
I will quantify that by saying, how like in the Premier League, there's nothing that happened in football before that.
All right.
So
before the last 3 years, won 1 trophy is what you're saying.
Right, exactly. Trophy, right? Exactly. Yeah. Liverpool won 1 trophy, and Hristo's never been a master. Get over it. Yeah. So I mean, pretty consistent all round.
He came 7th in Winter War with Cultists, and they're like shit demons. Yeah. And he did really, really well.
Yeah, man.
So impressive.
Yeah. Shit Demons is probably still better than Orcs and Goblins, though, right?
Yeah, true.
It is true.
In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king, mate.
No, absolutely. But no, commiserations for not coming. But I mean, I'm sure we'll see him in the future.
Absolutely.
And future masters. But yeah, that effectively ends our coverage on the who's who and everyone you need to know. You'll notice me and Matt didn't get a card. But anyway, we're here. But yeah, so I mean, it goes without saying, guys. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. It's
thank you, mate.
been a pleasure. Do I win a prize for best picture or something? You know, I think I blew the rest of them out of the water.
You know, you get a clap from me.
A slow clap.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
That's going to haunt your nightmares now, that picture.
It has been. So the moment you sent it over, it has been. Even my best dreams, you've been popping up. But no, yeah. I mean, I say thanks very much, guys. It goes without saying. Good luck at the tournament. I know you both said you're vying for that 15th spot. So, but otherwise, guys, I mean, you've proven it in the year. You can definitely go on and do some good stuff. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fabulous that you guys are both in there. Obviously, you're both mates of mine, and I'm going to be rooting for both of you. And I think you're going to have a good run. And you know what, Tom and I are going to be right there commentating on it. It's going to be fascinating to see how you guys get on. But congratulations on making it to the Masters. I know you've both been focusing on it, so bravo, well done. It's a hell of an achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have to say, like, the hype that we've got around it, for the first time ever, people who aren't going to Masters, people aren't competitive players, are talking about this. And I think that is a lot down to you guys as, huge leaders within the community, sort of driving the hype around it. And it's the way it should be, right? So, so I really genuinely cannot wait. And and thank you for everything that you guys do for us. So.
I say, like I said in the last video, I always like it when the guests stick to the script. On that one, so thank you very much, I really appreciate that. But yeah, so no, thanks very much, Matty. At the end of our second video.
I mean, 16 fantastic competitors, isn't it, Lucky-Sixes?
Absolutely.
We've had two amazing guests that have come on. Both of you have been on their own little journeys this year. I'm just stoked for both of them. And it's going to be so exciting just to see who's going to be there and how the tournament develops. I mean, my dark horse Trent there. I think he's going to be there and thereabouts. I can't wait to see how the Kevster gets on. Rory's going to be there and thereabouts. I'm sure of it. I'm psyched for the whole thing, mate. Absolutely. And red hot.
And I mean, if you enjoyed watching this about sort of looking over the year and looking over things, we've got an even more retrospective video on Friday, looking back at the road to Masters. What did everyone do? What formats of different UB tournaments? Because that is a big thing that's been introduced in this year. And the big pro, I would say, of UB is that people have been experimenting with tournament formats. And we're going to have a look at that next week. Not only that, we have two more guests lined up. Two more of, as we've mentioned in this, the big elites, Jake and Tanker. So players that are going to be on people's radar and are definitely going to be, if we had a bookies, which I'm not sure for legal reasons we're allowed, but if we were, they would be up there and certainly in the mix.
Well, absolutely. Well, it's incredibly intimidating, exciting, and frankly a little bit frightening, isn't it, to get these top players on and get them talking about Ninth Age, because we just love the whole buzz and the whole Ninth Age scene. But it's a real insight, isn't it, and a pleasure to have these top players on. So I'm just stoked for the whole thing. Then so Lucky-Sixes,
absolutely. And if you're looking for more content, if you just can't get enough, like us, then here is all the different places you can go to. Podcasts, say YouTube videos here, but there is an aim to get at least 95% of the players interviewed on all the different podcasts, as you can see around the screen. Live draws, matchup predictions. There's a whole load of shizzle that you can get in contact with and get engaged with the Masters, which we are very excited to show off. So make sure you do go like, share, subscribe, follow, tell your mates, tell your mums, all about all this sort of thing, and all the different content that is available.
Yeah,
Sad-
6 different podcasts and a video cast, mate. The hype train is definitely left the station. So
So, I mean, certainly thank you to all those. Thank you to our sponsors from the competition as well. Some big prizes. And sadly, that draws us to a close for today, Matty.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I just can't wait to get started now. So kind of bring on the road to the Masters, and then it's going to be the draw, the list reviews, and then round 1.
Yeah, straight in. So, I mean, we'll leave it on that. Thank you very much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Well done for that. And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone. Catch you next time.
See you later.